Welcome to the second video of Lab 3. In this video, we'll be covering how to add VIO and ILA IP to your design and then implementing this design in the FPGA. But before starting that, we'll first recap on what we have done and the basic block design of our whole project. So this is the basic design of the whole project. We have currently implemented this top counter as well as this 8-bit counter and a clock divider as well as clocking wizard. So let us understand the functionality of these blocks. So clock counter output takes two inputs: 1 Hz clock, which 1 Hz frequency clock, and a reset. It gives a counter. It gives an output of 8-bit counter, which basically counts from 0 to 255. So we're getting the as you can see here that we're getting the 100 megahertz clock from the FPGA, and we're converting this clock to 5 megahertz with the help of clocking wizard. So the reason why we're converting it only to 5 megahertz and not to 1 hertz is because of the fact that the clocking wizard has a constraint. It has a limitation that it cannot convert less. It cannot convert less than 5 megahertz. So this is why we are only using 5 megahertz. After that, we have used a clock divider circuit. We have designed a clock divider circuit and we have tested, and then we have given it 5 megahertz, and then it converts this 5 megahertz to 1 hertz. We're given this input to the counter and we're getting count value every second. So now we need to implement the ILA IP and the VIO IP such that we can implement the design in the FPGA and get and debug either debug the project or to just test the verify the functionality of the design with the help of these IPs. So before going into that, we'll be first discussing how clock divider works, how clock divider circuit works. Because I didn't have enough time to cover this concept in the last lab, I'll be doing that now. Our last lab video, I'll be doing that now. So to understand the concept, I'll be first implementing a demo clock divider. So this will be demo, and this will convert. I'll tell you the whole scenario later on. So yeah, it will again take a clock in. It will give a clock out, and this will be output. So this is the basic inputs of clock demo. So demo clock divider. Now we'll be making attachments because we're not implementing this in the FPGA. We're only testing its functionality in Vivado itself by generating a simulation. So we need to make a simulation source. So we'll be making attachments. So let's create a file. So I made the clock divider test bench as well. So before going, before starting with the design clock divider circuit itself, let's just create our input to the clock divider, which is a clock, which basically is a clock. So firstly, we'll need to initialize the clock divider demo inside it. So for that, I'll be okay. Now I can initialize this value. With the TB0. We have initialized the clock divider here, and now we just need to make a clock and give that clock to this clock divider. So we have already handled the part of giving that clock to the clock divider. Now we just need to give this clock, make this clock in. So for that, I'll be making use of always block. Oh, oh, I have forgot to initialize the value. Yeah, this is important. We need to initialize the value of clock in first, because otherwise the value of clock in is currently undefined without initialization, and then we'll be only making a not operation on an undefined value, and that will give undefined value as well. So we need to initialize this first, and then we can make this clock. So yeah, so we have given so every 5 nanosecond the clock value changes from either 0 to 1 or 1 to 0. So basically this clock has a time period of 10 nanosecond. So from this we can calculate its frequency. So the frequency of this clock is 10 to the power 8. So let us just assume that we need to make this we need to change this frequency from 10 to the power 8 to 10 to the power 7. Now to do this task, we'll be making use of the clock divider. So yeah, so let's just go to the clock divider now. And before going, before writing functionality, let me just give you understanding why we are making this parameter first. Parameter. So let's just be the parameter div value is equal to 0. We'll handle the value of div value later on. So we are giving this parameter such that we control the value, from what clock frequency we need to get from the output with the help of this div value. So we can just manipulate the value of this parameter over here. So this div value value of div can change over here. So I can give it 5 now. So now the div value would be 5. Okay, so this is because works. Yeah. So now the value of div value is 5. So I can manipulate the value of div value outside of the clock divider demo. We can just do it with from the TV. So this is why I'm giving parameter. And one more thing, the frequency of the clocking is 10 to the power 8. So this is fixed. Now we can change the value of div value such that we can get a certain output frequency. So basically this div value controls the frequency that we're getting. So the frequency that we require from 10 to the power 8 frequency clock is 10 to the power 7. So let's just calculate the value of div value over here. So for calculating the value of div value, we just let me just write it as step. Yeah. For calculating the value of div, we first need to understand how we're implementing this clock divider circuit. So we'll be making use of the concept of counter. So the counter that we designed over here, I think the 8-bit counter, yeah, we'll be making use of this concept, but from a slightly, but we'll change certain things. So what we're going to do is count up to div value. So there would be a certain count reg or a count next. I'll just write it over here. So this is just comment. So there will be a count value which will start to count from 0, 1, 2, 3 to div value or to div. So this will start count to div, and then the moment it hits div value, the value of the clock out would be equal to the not of the value of previous out. So what this is doing is, if initially the value of clock out was 0, so after the count hits div value, we'll get the value of the clock out to be 1. So this is what is happening. So now, and this count, so how is it incrementation? Because the rate of incrementation is important over here. The incrementation, we are incrementing it and at every single passage of clock in. So the frequency of this count is 5, is I think 10 to the power is 10 to the power 8, because the frequency of the clock in is 10 to the power 8 as well. So the frequency of count is 10 to the power 8, and we'll start counting till div value. And after we get div value, we'll change the value of clock out to the not of the previous clock out. So what we are doing is, this is half of the duration on which the count reaches from 0 to div value will be the half of the time period of the clock out. So I hope you can visualize this, because when I'll just do this. when the value of count was 0, so this would be 0, and here would be 0 as well. And after a certain time, when the div value reaches count, this will become 1. And then it will remain 1 until again the div value becomes again the count becomes div value. So this is our basic this is our methodology of how we are doing this. So we're counting from 0 to div value, and after we reach after every time we reach div value, the value of clock out will shift. So we need to implement that, and we'll select a div value such that we'll select a div value such that we get our desired time period of the clock out, and with the help of that, we'll be manipulating the frequency of the clock out. So this is our basic logic behind designing this circuit. So let us start designing the circuit. I understand that you do not have the knowledge of currently do not have the knowledge of combinational blocks or sequential blocks, but I'll do my best to explain it in a rudimentary way. This is not the actual definition. You'll be learning that in next week. So yeah. So first, let us just implement a counter. So this counter, let's implement this counter. Yeah. So this counter starts counting from 0 to div value, and then at a rate of a clock in. So this is exactly similar to what we have implemented over here, right? So we in here, this counter starts to count from 0 to 8-bit, so 255. This is because of the constraint that is given over here. So it starts from counting to 0 to 255, and then it will at a rate of a clock counter, and this is 1 hertz that we have designed. So we'll do this exactly same like here. Let's just copy and paste this. Yeah. So yeah. There will be a count rate. There will be a count next. There's no reset here. The condition at which the count rest becomes 0 here is this condition when count reaches div value. So we can just write that over here. So when count next reaches div value, so here it would be div value. Oh, I need to also change the counter clock. So this will be clock in, because this will manipulate the rate at which the counter increments. So count next is equal to div value. The value of counters will become 0, because we start to count all over again. So we'll count from 0 to div value, and then we'll start to count from 0 again. So this has handled that, and then whenever it is not equal to div value, we just need to increment it. So incrementation is done over here. So when count next is always equal to count rest plus 1. So when it was 2, the value of count next was 3, and at the pausage clock, we notice that the count next value is not equal to div. So count next value was 3, and it is not equal to the value of div. And let's just say the value of div is maybe 5. Let's just take 5. So when the count next is equal to 3, it is not equal to 5. Therefore, we just need to assign the value of count rate 3, which is count next. So this is why we have done that. This is how we made the counter. So we do not really require this many bits, because this is 8-bit, and we do not really require 8 bits. So we'll just make a 4-bit idle. 4 bits is more than enough, because they're only counting to 5. Yeah, so we do not need that many bits. So now we implemented the counter. So this is the part where the counter is finished. Now we need to implement the way how we change the value. So change the value of clock out. So this we need to implement this expression. So let's do that. So again, this expression will be only changed whenever the count value reaches div, and this will only happen during the when pause edge clock in will get initiated. So only when this happens, the count rate will be equal to div value. So again, here we will be giving pause edge clock here. So similarly, whenever the value, so when are we supposed to change the value of clock out? Whenever the value of count is equal to div. So this is exactly similar to the if statement over here. Whenever the value of count is equal to div, we need to change the value of clock out to not of clock out. Otherwise, we can just keep the value of clock out as clock out. So you might be seeing certain error over here. This is because of the fact that we cannot have wires in the left hand side in any in the left hand side of any always block. So this is as you can see here, a procedure assignment to a non-register clock out, because clock out is a wire, is not permitted. So either we need to change clock out to register, which you can directly do over here, and this error will be gone. Or you can just make a new variable as clock, and then we can just assign the value of clock to clock, and let this be this wire. So these are two ways in which you can do that. But either way, whenever you make a register, you need to make sure that you initialize it, because at this moment the clock is not initialized and it is zero. It is undefined, and just making a knot of undefined will also give us undefined. So the clock output that you will be getting is undefined. So to maintain the consistency between this demo and our clock divider design, let's just make the reg over here. Let's just make our output as register, and we can initialize this over here. Now this is rudimentary because this is unnecessary. Yeah. So now we have designed the clock divider, the demo clock divider, which divides the value, which firstly counts from 0 to 5 at a rate of clock in, and this determines the period of the clock out. So specifically, the half of the period of the clock out. And with the help of that, we determine the frequency of the clock out. So let us test this, if this is working or not. We have already made the test bench for clock divider, and let's just run this. So to run this again, you need to first set this as top, because only the simulation sources which have been set as top will run. So just set this as top and then run behavioral simulation. There you go. So as you can see, we have successfully divided the clock. We have generated a clock out from higher frequency to a lower frequency. Now you can play around with the value of div value by just changing. Let me just process by changing the value over here. Let's just make it 6 and then relaunch this simulation. This will give a different frequency or end a different period because the frequency and period are related. So yeah, this is the content. Yeah. As you can see, the frequency, the period is changed, has changed, and so there's a frequency with it. Now you can play around with the value of div and figure out how to get a certain value of frequency, a certain frequency of clock, if we know the clock in and by changing the div value. So this is your task. You can do this on your free time, and you can also. So I'll just give you how the formula for div value. So it would be equal to frequency of clock in divided by frequency of clock times 2. So this is over here. So So minus 1. So this is the value of div. Just getting into the presentation. Oh, there should be another bracket over here. Yeah, now it is handled. So now we need to understand why we are using clock wizard and why we haven't only used clock divider to convert 100 megahertz to 1 hertz. So this is because we are converting the frequency of clock in to clock out with the help of div value. And as you can see from the formula over here, the frequency of clock in is 100 megahertz and the frequency of clock out is 1. So this value would be quite large. And to handle that, we need to increase the number of registers used over here. So this will be a quite large value as well. The width of the registers that we are using would be quite large as well. So this is not an optimized method, and this is the reason why we're using clock divider. Sorry, clocking wizard IP, so that we can get a relatively relatively slower clock with lower frequency, and then we can change that frequency to 1 hertz with the help of the clock divider. As we can handle that by only using 8-bit count register and 8-bit count register and count units. Yeah, because the clock divider value when we are converting 5 megahertz to 1 hertz is 2499, and I think 3 more nines. So this is the value of clock the value, and this comes under 8-bit. That value can be handled with 8 bits only. So yeah, this is the reason why we are not using clock divider only to convert 100 megahertz to 1 hertz. Now we need to make the VIO wrapper. So before that, let us start by selecting VIO IP. So this is the VIO IP. This is similar to what we have done in lab 2. So the clock will remain the same. And regarding the input probe and output probe, so the input probe will be 1 and the output probe. Output, since we know that the input and output position switches, so the input that we're giving to the top counter will become the outputs of the VIA. Therefore, you might be thinking that we need to give 2 outputs, but that's actually false. We only need to give 1 output because um, this 100 megahertz input will be coming from FPGA itself. So we don't need to give that as an input from our end. So we only need to give 1 output and 1 input. But we need to make sure that the the input probe is of width 8. So yeah, so we need to generate the VI IP. So let us make the VIO wrapper. So this VIO wrapper will have an input clock which comes from the FPGA. We need to initialize. We need to make connections. We need wires to make connection between the VIO IP and the top address. So this will be for the count. This will be for the reset. Go to the output source and this. Oh, this is the clock. This is the instantiation template for the clock. We need instantiation template for the VIO. So we can get it from here. This is the instantiation template of the VIO. 0. The clock will be the clock in the probe input. This is of 7 bits, so obviously we'll give count over here. There is a reset, there is the input that we are giving to the FPGA. So this will be out over here. Now you make the connection between the wire and the VIO IP. Now we need to make the connection between the wire and top adder, such that the connection between the VIO and the top adder is complete. So now let us make the connection between the top adder. The instantiation name would be, just give it any name. The input stack clock underscore 100 capital M. The reset. The output was count. So the count goes here. Clock. Now that the instantiation is completed, we have made the final connection between the VIO wrapper and the top counter. Now what we need to do is to instantiate the ILA IP. So again, open the IP catalog, go to ILA. So this is the integrated logic analyzer. So integrated logic analyzer is a custom logic analyzer that you can use to monitor the waveforms and the signals in real time. So this have many advantages as listed over here, but we'll be focusing on Boolean trigger equations mainly, and yeah, so we'll be using different. We'll be utilizing this concept with the help of first giving events and then trigger conditions, and then observing, and then the ILA will return us the state of different probes when the trigger condition was satisfied. So double click on the ILA and then let's customize the IP. So the number of ports will be 3. We have 3 ports. Clock 1 Hertz because we need to observe the state of 1 Hertz clock as well. Even though the 1 Hertz clock, even though we are giving the a top counter 100 megahertz, there is a 1 Hertz probe somewhere in the top counter, and that somewhere is before counter 8 bit after the clock divider. So we give so we are giving first the 1 Hertz clock, and then the reset, and then the output. So these are the 3 ports, and let rest of the remain the same. And here in probe 2, the width, let the width be 8 because one of them is count, and we need to we need, since we are making an 8-bit counter, the width should be 8. So rest of this should be same. Just press OK. Okay. Now that we have made the now we incorporated the ILA IP in our project, we can instantiate this ILA in either in Vivado or in top counter. So I'll be instantiating it in top counter. So to do that, again, we need to go to the IP sources and then get the hold of let me just open this up. Yeah, get the hold of the VU, then copy paste it. So whenever you want to initialize any IP in your design, just always remember to go to IP sources and then instantiation template, then .vu. Here you can find the instantiation template over here, and you can just copy it, paste it in wherever you want to make the connection. So I want to make the connection here. You can make the connection in VIO wrapper as well. So this clock is the 100 megahertz clock. So we'll see. I don't know why it was not. Let me just write it down. So these are the probes that we're going to observe with the help of ILA. So following are the groups. The first one is clock 1 hertz. We need to observe this one. So we'll be giving it over here. Second one will be the reset. And the third one will be the count. Now that we have instantiated the ILA as well, now let me just write the name. ILA and 0. This is the name of the instantiation. Now that this part is done, I just need to yeah. Now that this part is done, now we just need to generate the bit stream. But before generating the bit stream, we again need to add a constraint file. The name of the constraint file doesn't really matter. Just name it anything. So you can use the same constraint file that you have used in the previous. We use the same constraint file that we used in the previous lab. So in the previous lab, I've used this one over here. Yes, again. Great. So now that I'm done with the constraint file as well, I just need to generate the bit stream. After the bit stream has been generated, just open the hardware manager and no. So since the hardware manager is open target and then open recent target. So if you're already connected, you can go through the recent target, but I highly advise you to go through open new target. So go to open new target. I'll be using 160. You should use the IP that has been provided by your designated TA. And yeah, remember to connect your VPN as well. I'm in college, so I don't need to connect VPN, but you must connect VPN before accessing the board, remote accessing the board. Okay, this one does not have, so I should get this sorted. And then I'll use 153. Since this one has a board, after connecting to the board, as you can see that the counter is increasing since the reset value is 0. So now we are observing the VIO. So let us just make the counter as a reset as 1. As you can see that the counter becomes 0. And this stays 0 until the reset goes to 0. So now that the reset is gone from 1 to 0, the counter starts incrementing. So after 2 5, so and we can observe that the counter is also incrementing 1 second per 1 second at a time. So we can conclude that the frequency of the counter is 1 hertz. Now let us observe how we are going to test it in the ILA interface. So first you will be able to see the ILA interface like this. Now we need to first add events to the trigger setup. So to add event or add probe, we just need to click on plus and then select one of them. So first we will add probe based on the counter. So let's change the radix from to unsigned. In the value, first we need to observe what value our count is in. So our count is in 55 value. And we need to give a value such that whenever that value is equal, whenever count is equal to that value, this event is triggered, and that causes the ILA to capture and monitor that event, that whole event or that whole time. So let us just, firstly, let me just make it as 1 such that this becomes 0. And then I'll give value of 15. So this is the value, this is the unsigned value, unsigned decimal value of the count on which this probe or this event will get triggered. So now I'll just give the reset as 0, thus causing the counter to start increasing. And once the counter reaches 50, the event, we need to run this. So I've started the counter. It doesn't really matter. Just run this, and then this will wait for trigger. And now the trigger has been given to us. So now that the trigger, I don't think you might have caught this, but I'll do it again. But since the trigger has the event has been triggered over here because the value of count got 15, the ILA has captured this whole entire simulation time here. So as you can observe, first it was 14 and then it was 15. So the clock was incrementing one at a time. So let us observe this again. So let me just make the reset as 1. So the count will be 0. Again, let the value be 15. And now I'll run this. So this is waiting for trigger now. This is waiting for count to become 15. So now I just need to change the reset value from 1 to 0 such that the count starts to increase. And the moment the value of count gets 15, this event will get triggered and the ILA will capture that moment. So the event is at 40, then 50. As you can see, it got triggered here, and we can also observe from the ticker console that the event got triggered, and you can see here again that the event got captured over here. Now let us add a different event or a different trigger. So this will be a reset. So whenever reset goes from 1 to 0, so this will be my trigger. So whenever reset goes from 1 to 0, the ILA will capture that moment. So currently the counter is going up and there is no trigger condition for the counter. There's only trigger condition for the reset now. So I'll change the reset from, so it was from 1 to 0, right? So I change the reset from 0 to 1. Now it has not been triggered. I think it is still, oh, I haven't ran it. So yeah, you first need to run it after deciding an event. And then now that you can see that if I change from 1 to 0, the event get triggered as well. So the event got triggered and then it came back to idle. So it got triggered and as you can notice here that it has changed. So, yeah. This is the basic concept of ILA. This helps you for debugging the code, debugging your code and debugging your designs in the FPGA. You can use different type of triggers. You can change the operators from being not equal, or you can add different type of gates such that you can make different trigger conditions. So you can play around with this tool, and we highly encourage you to use this tool for debugging your designs in the FPGA. So yeah, this is it for lab 3. You can see the deliverables of your lab 3 homework in the handout. Okay, thank you.